What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel, and this is the 2021 Kia Rio 5, and on the surface of it, it doesn't look or sound like a very exciting proposition, but that's because we have all been accustomed to believe that style and having a load of amenities and performance are crucial when shopping for a new car, even if that means spending tens of thousands of dollars over our initial budget. But when you consider the fact that the average price of a new car was nearly $47,000 late last year, it really puts things into a frightening perspective. Now, by no means am I downplaying the purchase of an expensive car. Me being a car person myself loves a car that has awesome styling and performance to back it up. But there are families out there who simply need a car that will get them from point A to point B in a safe, comfortable, and efficient manner. And the Kia Rio 5 here achieves just that. And when you consider the fact that it costs just 1/3 of that initial average car figure of $47,000, it just makes even more sense. Although this car is the 2021 Rio, the differences between this and the 2023 are minimal, so I will be cross-comparing the two during this review. On the outside, the Kia Rio is a pretty good-looking car in my eyes. I've always loved hatchbacks, and this one is no exception. It's nearly 170 inches long and 57 inches high, and best of all, it weighs in at nearly 2,800 pounds, making it surprisingly fun to toss around. More on that during the drive. Now, the Kia Rio 5 is available with one trim level in America and 4 in Canada. It starts at nearly 17,000 USD or 17,500 Canadian. Although the US version is simplified to only one trim level known as the S, although if you want a bit more tech, there is an additional package that can be added for nearly $2,000. Under the hood, the Kia Rio 5 features the same 4-cylinder engine across all trim levels, which produces 120 horsepower and 113 pound-feet of torque. I know it doesn't sound a lot on paper, but since this thing weighs in only 2,800 pounds, it actually is enough and suffices for that decrease in power. Anyway, power is sent through the front wheels and routed through your choice of a stick-shift trans, which sadly is only available in Canada and on the base model only, or what Kia calls their IVT trans. Economy numbers for this engine are as follows. Even though this car is budget-oriented, Kia hasn't skipped out on any safety features, which are pretty mandatory. In the front, you get disc brakes and drums in the back, along with ABS, stability, and traction control. Inside, the Kia Rio 5 is well equipped with everything you'll need on an everyday basis and more, even on the Space LX Plus trim. Things like an 8-inch display with CarPlay and Android Auto, air conditioning, cruise control, keyless entry, heated exterior mirrors, Bluetooth calling, and a lot more. If you are in Canada though, you will get some additional features like heated seats in the front and a leather-wrapped wheel. Opt for a higher trim level and you can make the Rio a bit more stylish with alloy wheels and projector LED headlights, among other things. In the back, Kia has done their homework, as the rear seats can fit individuals of all sizes. I don't know how they've managed to do this, but kudos to them. And of course, there are certain limitations to what size of individual you can fit back there, but adults find the rear seats moderately comfortable. In the trunk, we have access to 17.4 cubic feet or 493 liters of space with the rear seats up, although if you do plan on hauling larger items or you find yourself driving the car mostly, you can fold the rear seats down for extra room. So bearing all that information is splendid, but how is the Kia Rio 5 on the road? Let's find out. So here we are behind the wheel of the Kia Rio, and this is the type of vehicle that isn't very popular. Most people just discount it off as just a small budget vehicle that's not fun to drive, boring, cheap on the inside, boring to look at, boring to drive, but it's actually quite the opposite of that. I mean, vehicles like this are unfortunately going into extinction That's because everyone prefers to drive SUVs all day, and we can rave about that all day. Well, let's get into the Kia Rio itself. So, to mention some competition, this vehicle actually used to have a lot of competition back in the day. Vehicles like the Toyota Yaris, Honda Fit, the Nissan Versa, and others as well. But as this class of vehicle is slowly, like I mentioned, going out of style, a lot of that competition has diminished. And because of fuel prices dropping as well, people just prefer to have larger vehicles in general. Now I can tell you that a vehicle like this would do great in Europe because, well, our Europeans love their hatchbacks, and I also love hatchbacks. But I personally love them, and this is personally a favorite of mine. I gotta give kudos to Kia for actually keeping this thing around, because a lot of manufacturers saw a massive drop in sales and just dropped the model altogether or dropped the style of vehicle. Now the Kia Rio is available in a few trim levels. This is one of the lower end trim levels known as the LX Plus, I believe. And it actually comes with quite a few amenities. Now if you get the base model, you do get a manual transmission, which is fun, but some people don't drive manual or just prefer not to drive it in traffic, and I totally get that. So this LX is actually the automatic version, and it doesn't have a conventional automatic. It has in something that Kia calls its intelligent variable transmission, which is somewhat like a CVT but better. It's smoother, and it actually replicates gear shift, so you don't get that annoying drone that a lot associate with, well, CVT transmissions. I also have a leather wrapped steering wheel, which feels better than whatever that plastic stuff you get on lower trim level vehicles. It has body colored door handles, body colored mirrors. It unfortunately doesn't have alloy wheels. You do have to stick with plates, but the good thing about that is they're 15 inches in diameter, which means, well, cheap tires. And you can also always throw a set of wheels on if you so desire. It also has a sport button over here, so if we click that, what does that do? Well, it makes the engine more responsive. That's what most sport modes do, I guess, right? And it actually kind of wakes it up. This vehicle is actually really nice. It's exactly what you would expect. It does take a bit of heft when you're merging onto highways and stuff, as you would expect from only 120 horsepower, but when you're around town, it just zips around towns and corners in relative fun. Like the title of this video states, it's cheap thrills, and it's exactly what this vehicle is. Again, we'll push it a little bit because we're still in sport mode. There we go, you heard a bit of that replicated gear shift noise. Steering feel is also surprisingly direct in a vehicle like this. But yeah, surprisingly, this thing is actually really nice, and the steering wheel, like most vehicles, you would expect a vague steering wheel and something in this class, but this thing is really fun, actually. I mean, just throw it on the corner. You do have some simulated body roll, but other than that, it's actually a really nice steering feel, in my opinion. Perfect for everyday driving, but also you want to have a bit of fun, throw it in some corners, and this vehicle definitely delivers. In terms of sound levels, there is quite a lot of noise protrusion inside the cabin from outside, and the fact that this thing is riding on winter tires doesn't help. But it's not to the point where it's unbearable, it's just there. So in the end, what are my final thoughts on the Kia Rio? Well, I think it's a great vehicle overall. It just does everything you would expect it to do in this price range. It has all the amenities that you expect something in this class to have, and it rides, well, exactly how you would expect it to drive. And it's surprisingly fun around the corners as well. Of course, go out there, do some cross-shopping, cross-shop this against the Nissan Versa and see what works for you. But in my opinion, I would give this thing a solid recommendation. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.